Today's comparison is brought to you by Dave Palumbo himself. He contacted me this morning and requested this one. I'm just joking, but in all seriousness, Dave Palumbo and Lee Priest, I watch these guys pretty much every day, so I feel like I know them. But I don't. They are famous, and I'm not, sadly. But someday I would like to meet both of them. Just the information both of these guys have in their brains, just phenomenal. And I figured this is an excuse to do a comparison, or rather an excuse to just boast about these guys and how much I like them, and do a comparison between these two. And who knows, maybe one or both of these guys may check this one out, and I won't take any cheap shots on Dave or Lee. I respect both of these guys fully, and I will give you my honest opinion on who would win in a bodybuilding competition. And don't be fooled by this front relaxed position of Palumbo. It was hard to find any shots of him in his prime. He is, let's face it, past his prime in this shot. A little bit of distension in the midsection, and on the contrary, Lee Priest is in his best all-time shape here. And there is no symmetry round due to lack of rear relaxed positions of both. So we will hop into the front double bicep pose. And this is not going the way that I thought. Dave Palumbo looks like the most aesthetic bodybuilder that I've ever... Oh, wait a second now. Somebody has played a trick with me and jerked around with my pictures. This is Charles Claremont with Dave Palumbo's head on it. On the contrary, Dave Palumbo's front double bicep was not his best pose. But guys, this is misconstruing the situation. This is Dave at the tail end of his career, and like I said, it was very hard to find pictures of him in his prime, but I did track this one down, and look at Dave here, huh? For all those little dinks that comment in the YouTube saying, oh, Dave Palumbo, this and that, I'd like to see their physiques up against this, just Adonis. Look at the size of his arms. He's looking over at Lee thinking, I don't know, Lee, you got big arms, but so do I. Does Dave Palumbo. So in their primes, it would be a matchup, and I'm sure a lot of you were thinking, why would he do this comparison? It's a no-brainer. But I have to tell you, both in their prime, it would be a heck of a match. The little tiny waist of Lee would probably get him an edge in the front double, though. Front lat spread, and again, guys, this is probably not going the way you thought it would. Huh? Dave Palumbo, he's no slouch at all. But there was no real straight-on shots of Lee Priest from the 97 Mr. Olympia, and that's the version that I would usually like to use. But at this time, I'll bring up a different one of Lee, and this is very flattering. I think Lee may take Dave in the front lat spread. But, guys, take a look at Dave's conditioning. I know these are not the clearest pictures, but use your imagination. You could just imagine how hard and grainy Dave is. Much harder than Lee, I would say, in this comparison. So I could see some of the judges, the conditioning judges, some look more into the conditioning, some look more into the shape. I could see some of them giving this one to Dave Palumbo, because his lat spread sure is filled out nice. Side chest shot. And once again, I have to say, guys, Dave Palumbo is giving Lee Priest a run for his money, my soul. This is size and conditioning, hard graininess, versus flow and aesthetics and just freakiness when you look at the size of Lee's muscles compared to his waistline. So it's a pick'em. I mean, that conditioning, like I said, I could see most of the judges giving this one to Dave Palumbo. Side tricep, and again, not a good display at all for Lee Priest from 97, so another opportunity to use a different version. And this is the Grand Prix Hungary 97, if I'm not mistaken. It's either 96, 98, or 97. I'm pretty sure it's 97. This was an awesome event. A lot of good footage from this. Dave Palumbo, again, when you look at the legs, he is so hard. I heard Kevin Levrone once told him that he is the biggest, hardest, grainiest bodybuilder that he ever seen at one point. So what a heck of a compliment. The conditioning of Dave Palumbo is just unheard of. I mean, this is like Branch Warren, guys. Of course, like I said earlier, the flow, the shape, the proportions of Lee Priest are godlike when you look at the waistline and he is crushing Dave as far as the tricep is concerned. And you'll notice I'm not really giving points in this one. I'm going to give you my overall opinion when it's all through of who I would pick. And as far as picking is concerned, I picked a heck of a version for Lee Priest in the rear lat spread, did I not? This is probably the softest, most unconditioned version of Lee Priest there is, the 2003 Mr. Olympia. I just wanted to show it because he's using extensions. He put hair extensions in there. And unless you're an extreme follower of Dave Palumbo's show, you wouldn't know that. I watch all the shows, and Lee said it one time. Anyway, Dave Palumbo, one of the best rear lat spreads of all time. So to be fair to Lee, I'll bring the best rear lat spread I could find of Lee up to compare. And look at this. Glutes on Lee Priest. Did Lee Priest even know that he was in this condition at one time? This is the 94 the 94 Arnold's Classics, not the Mr. Olympia. And I have to say, Dave is still probably too much for Lee. The glutes on Dave Palumbo are so big, and they're actually striated, ladies and gentlemen. This is Branch Warren. I'm telling you right now, that type of conditioning, coupled with that size and muscularity, it does not grow on trees. So as far as the front shots are concerned, Lee would definitely have an edge because of his waistline, his six-pack, his abs. But when you turn them around, I'm telling you right now, this photo picture of Dave Palumbo, this is some of the best stuff in bodybuilding history as far as back shots are concerned. I mean, this rear lat spread, this would match up with anybody. Phil Heath, you name it. What a rear lat spread. Very underrated is Dave Palumbo. But to be honest, I have to say his rear double did not translate quite so well. And on the contrary, Lee Priest looks like a demon, a beast. Look at the arms. Actually, Lee's glutes don't look too bad here. And Palumbo's, even in this blurry picture, which is not really fair to use, you can still see some striations in his glutes, which is just phenomenal. If you ever wondered how to get the striations in them glutes, knock on Dave Palumbo's door. He could tell you. And when you actually look at the thickness, the lower lat thickness of Dave Palumbo, it was more of the display of this shot that is hurting him because he had the muscle, for sure. But I think I might even give this one to Lee Priest due to the just arm size. Not a bad shot for Lee. Ab and thigh, come on knock on my door, come on knock on my door, I'll be waiting for you. Where did that come from? Oh, because I said Furley. Furley, Three's a Company. Anyway, if you're not familiar with that, I apologize deeply. The ab and thigh, it's a distended picture, first of all, for Dave Palumbo, so it's not even fair. It does not do him any justice. And furthermore, when you're delivering back shots such as Dave Palumbo, you can't win them all. To develop such thickness in that lower back, your stomach is going to get distended, let's face it. And Phil Heath went through the same thing, but I'm not making excuses for Dave. Lee Priest is a god in this shot. This is some of the best stuff. Like I said, for the back shot for Dave Palumbo, this is some of the best stuff in ab and thigh history for the sport. Just unreal ab and thigh for Lee Priest. So this is double points. I mean, what are you gonna say? This is a blowout. The most muscular, I believe, would be a shootout for these two. Now keep in mind, Dave Palumbo, it was very rare to find any pictures of him at his best, at his prime. But even the ones that I did use, you can see the vascularity level and the hardness and the size. Just very, very hard to beat. Of course, and I also mentioned this for pretty much every shot, Lee Priest, his waist to arm, leg size, waist ratio, just stuff of legend. He had a little tiny waist, massive arms. I think it would be very, very difficult for Dave Palumbo to beat this just little phenom. But if they were both in their prime, keep in mind there was a couple of shots of Dave that really did show that when he didn't have much distension in that waist, that he would have been a handful for Lee Priest. So both in their prime, I don't know. It would have been a tough decision to make. But the pictures that I did have, Lee Priest, I think, would get the edge. He's just a little too aesthetic. That waistline was just phenomenal. And there was a couple of shots that did show his glutes were almost as good as Dave Palumbo's for a couple of shows anyway. But Dave was pretty consistent in that area. So respect for both gentlemen. And I have to say, two of my all-time favorite personalities. Love hearing them talk. I would love just one time to hear Lee Priest tell me off to use my name and call me a bad name or something like that. I don't like to swear in my channel, but that would be awesome. Anyway, like I said, respect to both guys. Hit thumbs up on this one, guys, if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Have a fantastic day.